if a year from now you are in the exact same spot, I'm going to kick your effing ass. Like, there's no turning back. You know that this is not the life you want to live anymore.
All right, friends. You're 40 years old. You're living in one of the greatest cities in the world, New York City. You're earning a 6-figure salary. Your friends and your family is around the block. But still, you have the feeling that there's something wrong. You have this little voice in your head saying, you're meant for more. There's more out there. My name is Sylvester, and this is the 3rd episode of my podcast, 2 years from now. Today, you're going to meet Daniela, or Dani as I call her, a friend of mine. Dani left New York, left her well-paid job, left her family and friends, her comfortable life, which was not so comfortable after all, to try out living her dream life in Spain. She listened to the little voice in her head. We talk about how to be goal-oriented while present at the same time. We talk about how to connect with strangers, just like randomly on the street. Dani has a pretty good take on this, and I have to say, especially as a Dane, there's a lot to learn from this very open-minded and outgoing approach. Also, we talk about the ultimate question to ask yourself before making a big life decision. This is 2 years from now, and welcome again. I hope you enjoy it because I had a lot of fun making it. Oh, and one more thing before the sunset and it gets too dark to see me. If you like what you see, then I would highly appreciate a like and a subscribe. Velkommen til kaffen i Johan Henderson.
Here we are on Syl's roof. We are about to record our first podcast together. Not his first podcast, but our first podcast. He is setting up, whoop whoop, full on hygge mode. And as you can see, he lives in the best location in Madrid. Programming. He talks.
I just really appreciate sound in the podcast.
That too.
Yeah.
That too.
I read it on the internet.
That's what you're focused on, is that sound. Is the...
I'm excited.
Yeah.
For several reasons.
Yeah.
But one of them is that today I have you here as a guest, Daniela, in my podcast 2 years from now. And I remember you were one of the first people that I...
Really?
I shared the initial thoughts of it.
Yeah.
Because we did the Camino together.
Yes.
For your information. Shout out,
yeah.
Tom, for a great...
Tom Charlie.
Yeah, and I was really excited to have this conversation because I think on the Camino we had so many good conversations.
Yes. But I also kept thinking, oh God, he's having a great conversation with everybody. And I thought he's just one of those guys that is friends with everybody and such a, just, you have this ability to connect with everyone. Uh-huh. And I thought, I'm just one of the many. And I connect with a lot of people too. But the fact that afterwards you followed up and said, hey, you know what? I'd really like to try a podcast with you. Like that really stood out to me. It was like he felt what I felt.
Nice. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And for the audience out there, we are sitting in Barrio Las Letras, in my hood, on my rooftop in Madrid. Mm-hmm. And it's...
perfect weather.
It's perfect weather. The sun is about to set, if you can say that.
Yes.
Sunset.
Yes, you can. The terracotta roofs are surrounding us. We don't know how to say that in Danish.
No, I mean, terracotta, help us. I don't know what terracotta means, but you might be able to see it and help me with that word.
Best backdrop ever.
Okay, my first question for you today is, why do you think I'm Dutch?
Why do I think you're Dutch?
Yeah, you mentioned several times that you thought I was Dutch. I was from Holland.
Oh, I just a second ago I thought you were Dutch. All right, so here's the thing. Americans do not know geography nor anything outside the realm of the United States, and I'm going to get a lot of haters for this. But the thing is, we just don't learn about geography in Eastern Europe. Can I say you're Eastern Europe?
Northern Europe.
Northern.
Por
okay.
favor.
See, there you go. Northern Europe. Danish, Finnish, Norwegian, the fjords, we really don't know. You kind of all like mush together. Mm-hmm. And I'd say I'm pretty educated. So when it comes to that, I'm like, you could be from Holland, you could be from Denmark. I honestly just try and remember every time before I see you what you are.
Okay. Yesterday,
Yeah.
I had a session with my therapist, and I told her about this podcast, and she said one thing, which you also said when I told you about it.
What was it?
Can you guess it?
You're asking an ADHD person to remember something. Something you mentioned. By the way, can I just mention that whenever a man publicly mentions that they're seeing a therapist, it is another message to more men to admit and say that they see a therapist, and it makes it even more okay for men to seek help just talking with somebody. So I appreciate every single man out there on podcasts or out on TV or whatever that are willing to openly share that. So that's just a side note. Now, you're asking me to remember something, and I won't.
Okay.
What was it?
So the name, I told you about the name 2 years from now, and one of the first things you said is, or you sent me a voice message actually, and you wanted to remind me of the power of not only visualizing the future but also being in the now, because we live in the now, and life is in the now, and life is not 2 years from now. And my therapist yesterday, she was she supported me, and she supported the concept of visualization.
Yeah.
But she also gave me the same reminder of right here, what we are doing right now.
Exactly.
That's life.
Because if we focus too much on the future, we're not being present with one another. Honestly, I think that a lot of, and I see a life coach as well, who's kind of a therapist and everything, financial advisor, all into one. And they help us see so many things in ourselves, and they give us reminders of like what we need reminders about, period. And living in the now is something really hard for humans. I feel like you probably struggle with it. I struggle with it because you're talking about what's the next podcast I want to do? What's the next episode I want to do? But it's like, wait, right now we're doing the podcast. Why don't we just feel the energy here and see what comes out of that?
Right.
So, yeah.
So I thought a little bit about it today before having this conversation with you. And not that I want to like defend it, because obviously you support me, my therapist support me. So like there's nothing to defend. But I think like the note I would add is that visualizing the future give you some lenses that you see the present through. And then it makes it easier to know if what you're doing present harmonize with where you want to go.
I can't get over how good your English is, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm like, wait a second. How does he know, like, through the lens? You know what? Yes, you do have a strong argument there. We do need to recognize, visualizing does give us more dreams and hopes and excitement. And I do wonder, like, what percentage of our dreams, like, actually come true. I mean, you envisioned this happening, but you actually acted on it. And I'm sure there's so many other people out there that think, I want to start a podcast, I want to start something, and they are too scared to do it. So, sorry, side note, I go off in tangents.
That's great. And thank you. And again, thank you for being here to have this conversation. Like the overall headline for today is you moving from your life in New York to Spain. Why did you move to Spain? Why did you move to Madrid?
Such a loaded topic. Like, all I do is picture like a bowling ball, like Miley Cyrus on that bowling ball, a wrecking ball, something like that. I picture myself like sitting on that or holding that above myself. Not that it's something negative, but it's such a heavy, loaded question. If we want to go way back, I visited Spain for the first time when I was 15. I always gravitated towards non-Americans. My first friend, I think, was Italian, and we didn't even speak. I don't even know what we spoke together. But regardless, and throughout the years, I actually ended up becoming a Spanish teacher in the U.S. And throughout the years, I kept coming back to Hispanic culture, Spanish culture, and there's a big difference between that a lot of people make those. Yeah. There's probably a soccer game, football, soccer game going on. Yeah. But I was teaching Spanish. I kept visiting Spain over and over again. And as I kept coming back here, I saw a lifestyle that was in tune to where I wanted in 2 years my future to be. When you come to Spain, you see these tin chairs, tin tables that look so uncomfortable outside of every single bar, every single restaurant. And you're like, why are there 10 people sitting around this shitty table? And what is it about it that makes them all smile and get together every day and so forth? And I just knew that that was just one of the billion things that I wanted to appreciate more, is being present with the people that I love. And even if it wasn't going to be in New York with my family and friends, that I was going to build that type of a community, whereas we're not on our cell phones. Because here in Spain, you don't see people on their cell phones as much. And even when there are 10 people around a tin table, you know, you just don't see them all on their cell phones. They're talking, they're laughing, they're not getting wasted, you know, like New Yorkers probably are. That type of, we're going to leave work at work and we're going to enjoy ourselves after work in a really responsible, loving way, is one of the many, many reasons. I was also bored with my life in New York, and it's hard to say that you're bored in New York, but when you grow up there, you know, I feel like it's okay to say that. I was looking for a challenge also. My job wasn't challenging me anymore, and I knew that I was meant to do something bigger, like I was telling you the other day, like either I'm meant to like do something in education, but maybe I'm meant to travel and talk about something in education, or I'm meant to just do something bigger and more and affect more lives. I mean, like, why did you move here?
I moved here because I was attracted to the culture and the sun and the light and the... I was traveling in Latin America, and then I came back to Denmark, and I could just feel that even though Spain and Latin America it's two very different things, then compared to Denmark, it still has a lot in common.
Yeah.
And like I just remember going on walking on the streets in Denmark and not being able to get like eye contact with people, and like not like having those small interaction.
Did you realize that before you went to Latin America?
I actually realized it the first time when I traveled to San Diego for studying abroad there.
Really?
But then it was a good reminder of this, I call it the how are you culture, or like in Spanish, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás culture, where you are very open to have a...
There's a proper hello and a proper goodbye.
Yeah, and you know, you're not supposed to like talk a lot when people ask you ¿qué tal? It's just like I'm good, bien, y tú, right?
Yeah. But there's a proper hello and a proper goodbye, even though it's not like this full blown.
Exactly, and I was very attracted to that.
Yeah.
Like how people are, I think it's as basic as acknowledging each other.
Yeah. So in Danish, in Denmark, that's something that doesn't occur, really.
Not in the same way.
Yeah.
So like, I would say it like this: it's difficult to get a superficial conversation, but then when you have a conversation with people, it's usually something deeper, something more substantial. So we may not like let people into our life so easily, but then when we let them in, it's the whole package. Right. So it has its benefits.
Right.
And I love to go back to Denmark, and I love to go back to see the people that I love and care about.
And then you're like, I'm out of there.
Then I'm out again. Yeah.
I haven't been back to the U.S. yet. I've been here 8 months, and I'm very curious as to what reverse culture shock, good and bad, I'm going to be feeling. I know that certain things like customer service and the quickness at which you get, you know, your coffee or your drink or something, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah,
everyone's in a rush.
Absolutely.
Such a rush.
We'll get back to that because it's super interesting.
Yeah.
But I would like to hear more about also... When I talked with you yesterday, I understood that you had a really good life in New York. You had a great job, but you also had the feeling that you were meant for more.
Yeah. It's hard to understand because it's like if life seems fine, why would you change it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. I was earning 6 figures, living like a very, very comfortable lifestyle. Yes, I was a teacher, but, you know, in a very good school district and so forth. My parents lived down the block. My brother lived in Brooklyn. my dog. I was helped run an animal rescue by night. I was teacher during the day. I had a car. I had extra money to travel to Spain in the summers. And for several years, I was like, I suffered in the past from depression. I was like, am I depressed, or is it just like a situational thing? Like, I'm ready for something more, I'm ready for something different. I wasn't really sure. So through talking to a life coach and therapist and stuff like that, I was trying to figure it out. And I remember when I was here like 2 summers ago, and it's when I decided, I said to myself, if you go back home and a year from now, you are living the exact same life, like here you are complaining about your life while you're in Spain, your life back home. If a year from now you are in the exact same spot, I'm going to kick your effing ass. And I told myself that. And from that point on, I made a decision. Like, there's no turning back. You know that this is not the life you want to live anymore. Because I did at some point. But I think it's really important to, when you recognize that, when you talk to people about it, make sure you're talking to the right people about it. The people that you know are going to support you in becoming a better person and morphing into the future you 2 years from now. Because there's going to be people that are like, no, your life is perfect here, family is here.
You feel like you belong more here. And if I understood you right, it was after many years of working in the same job in New York. Then you come here. You feel like that's what you're supposed to do.
Such a good question. Teaching Spanish for so many years to switch.
Teaching Spanish in New York. And teaching English in
And then teaching English in Spain is like my passion. My entire life has been Spanish and Spain and Hispanic and Latin American culture. And all of a sudden it was like being flipped upside down. I'm like, do I like English? Like, I don't even know. Do I like English? So I'm still figuring that out, even though I'm currently the director of an English program. But I do love helping. What I do realize coming here is that I do absolutely love helping Spaniards and foreigners navigate English and navigate life better with the ability that I'm able to give them, or the assistance I'm able to give them, or the connections I'm able to give them in New York, or tell them about culture. Am I meant to be here? Yes, I've already decided I'm here for life. And as an American, how are you gonna stay here each year? Everyone's like, find an hecho de pareja, marry a Spanish man. I'm like, dude, I'm good. I'm gonna find my own way. I'm not relying on anybody else. If that's anything that I've learned, I'm like, you move to Spain for you, you figure out Spain for yourself. You're not gonna, you can't think something else could happen and then.
Yes.
But as an American. So yes, I feel like this is my place. I'm still figuring out a lot of things.
After how long time here?
8 months.
8 months.
It's only been 8 months, but I have new dreams that I didn't have before, and that's super cool.
That's interesting.
Do you find that same thing that you have like?
Yeah.
I mean,
but
had you already had?
I think for me, it's also like, besides being inspired a lot by living in Spain, I think it's also related to, for me, moving to Spain was a project. It was a challenge that I wanted to solve. And then, like, the more challenges you solve in your life, the more confident you get. And
although those challenges are quite steep at times, but keeping that mentality of, I can overcome this.
Yes. And then the more challenges you solve, the more confident you get, and then you also get comfortable or confident making new plans or dreams. Like, if I can do this, I can, like, in another episode I made of this, that you haven't seen yet,
Soon
because
to
it's
come
not
out.
When this comes out, it's already out. And I talk about how, like, I see comfort zones being like, when you do something out of comfort zone, you move it to comfort zone relatively, and then your comfort zone expands. And when you lived in New York, you told me that you were a bit jealous of people who made it abroad, or people like people who went out in the world. But then you still felt like, for many years, you told yourself that you were supposed to stay
Totally
in New York.
Totally. Because who wouldn't want to live in New York? New York is the place to be around the world. Oh, you're from New York. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that during COVID, I was proud to live in New York. I wanted to stand by my people. I took out my, pots and pans at the end of every day, and we were all on our roofs together. And there was this togetherness, and I didn't want to leave my city after that. However, so many people left New York City after that point, and I found myself being like, well, they left. Like, they didn't abandon New York City, but they went on to other pastures. And I kept saying, I wish I could do that. I want to do that. And one was like North Carolina. Another was France, Romania. But not all of them were international. It was just somewhere besides where they grew up or not New York.
Right.
And to realize and recognize that the place where you've grown up might not be your forever home and might not be meant to be your forever home, like we're finding out in the expat community. Even though it's hard to, at first you're like, you don't have your normal, like, coffee person that you always say hello to. You don't have your park that you always go to here. Forming that here is definitely a step. But now, after 8 months, and even after, like, 5 months, I'm like, somebody honked at me on the street, and I knew the person in the car.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge. And the thing is, even though I miss certain things about New York, it's not enough for me to say I belong there again. Because I absolutely do not belong there. Such a crazy concept that halfway through your life at 40, you're like...
Belonging is crazy.
Belonging.
It's strong and it's very important. When you're living in New York and you are planning to move to Spain, what is your expectations of moving to Spain, moving to Madrid?
Part of my expectation of what would happen when I came here... I did think certain things, like things with bureaucracy, weren't going to be as bad as they were. Like, I was told, and like you talk with people who live here already that are expats, terrible. But the bureaucracy of it, it's like, in order to live this, wonderful life, like full of purpose with other people who like take the time to talk, and sit on those tin chairs and whatever, comes along the bureaucracy of the paperwork and the government that you still need to deal with as a foreigner. And when you speak to Spaniards, they're like, oh, yeah, it's horrible. But I don't think they deal with it the same way we do. And I did expect it to be not so fantastic, but it was worse than I predicted. But you're like, you have to forge on ahead. You're like, I'm here. I need to push through it. And having a support group of other expats that can help you be like, dude, that sucks. I know. I couldn't get that appointment on the website either. And you're like, why don't they just change the freaking website? I could just do this so much better.
Right.
But there's a reason. It's Spain. Spain does it their way.
I made many friends, or close friends, in that process, because you're just in this shit show together, right? And you're just, you can either cry about it or laugh about it.
Right.
And if you have the energy, if you have the awareness to choose to laugh, then it becomes a bit easier.
And your Spanish is pretty good, and my Spanish is very good. And yet still, I would talk to people who spoke Spanish very well or not well at all, and I was like, can I help you in any way? But I couldn't even help myself. So that part was unexpected to be as difficult as it was.
Yeah.
But you learn to, it's like a love-hate with the bureaucracy.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you belong here?
Yeah. I feel like I belong here more than any other place right now, but I'm also aware that if I got even more fluent in Spanish, I would have an even stronger sense of belonging.
And you were saying the other day that there's you set a lot of goals for yourself. I know you. Yeah. You set a lot of goals. Yeah. And you were saying yesterday, can you say that again? You'll say it better than me, like keeping all of them at like peak, like doing everything to the best of your ability, like something's got to give. And so like the one thing that's
Yeah.
giving right now is the Spanish.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we were talking about it yesterday. I remember now. Like, I like to think of it as like compartment 1, 2, and 3. Compartment.
Only 3?
Yeah, like for the simplicity, por favor. You can maybe add some more, but compartment 1 is like things I'm good at that I know I'm good at.
Yeah.
Compartment 2 is things that I'm not good at, but I'm working on it. I want to be good at it. And compartment 3 is things I'm not good at, and now is not the time.
I love the second part of the things I'm not good at, because for me, normally, if I'm not good at it, I leave it forever. But for you, it sounds like, ooh, but maybe I'll revisit that at another time. And that's such an interesting perspective for me.
Yeah, but it's also a way for me to actually have a conversation with myself and being okay with, like, now I have this project on.
Yeah.
And there's other things that I'm, like, currently I'm out of my Spanish routine.
Right.
As we talked about. So it's still a part of my goals.
Right.
But right now I have too many things going on. And, like, that's not an excuse for not practicing 10 minutes a day. But
are you beating yourself up for it?
No, but that's the point. So I'm trying to be, like...
kinder to yourself.
Yeah. It's compassion, and it's awareness, and it's like, here is something that I want to work on when the time is there, but already now I could easily be overwhelmed with my current activities.
I like how you're giving us this visual of like simplifying what I view as 5,000 categories, just how my brain works, into 3 categories. And it's almost like I feel like after this, I could legit make I love Google Docs, make a Google Doc where it's like 1, 2, I would have to color code it, of course, but category 1, category 2, category 3, where I never thought category 3 was something for me to like revisit, because I always think of, so hard on myself. I always think of like, if I'm bad at it, like, goodbye.
Yeah.
I know I'm bad at it forever. But
but there is I think for you as well, there's a lot of things in your life that you would like to work on, but now is not the time because XYZ, job situation, relationships, language, hobbies,
yes,
social life, like,
yes.
I mean, there's always things that we would like to be better at, and especially if you have a tendency of looking into the future and dreaming a bit. I will go back here, and I would like to know more about when you came to Madrid.
Yeah.
Did you already have a job?
No. That's the funny part. I had the student visa, which said that I could work as much as I wanted to. But I was like, I had started interviewing back in the U.S. in like May, April, and everyone's like, it's going to be too late to interview at international schools. And I was like, hey, I'm going to try. I remember at work locking myself in like this little room and putting my headphones on and redoing my makeup and putting on an even more professional shirt, like trying to do the interviews. But, because I wasn't living in Spain or this type of, just so many reasons, they didn't want to hire me. It wasn't for my credentials. It was the visa, the this, the that, whatever. So I came here with no job, but I came here having saved some money, knowing that I was going to need some sort of a financial cushion in order to not have a heart attack.
Yeah.
I arrived here September 6th, 7th. I started I have a student visa. I started these classes for advanced English teaching and some Spanish classes. And it was intense in the beginning, but then they kind of like leave you to your own devices. And they're like...
Just to be clear here.
Yes.
When you're in New York and you are making your path to Madrid.
Yes.
You're searching for jobs?
I was trying.
You're applying?
Oh, yeah.
And
I was trying.
You get rejections like everybody does?
Yeah.
And then
you have to get up again.
And then you choose to move.
And then I still chose to move.
And then you set a date, now I'm going to move.
Yes.
I love
because
that.
I was like, I believe in myself.
Yeah, what's on your mind there? What's on your mind?
I don't know. People would be like, well, you're moving without a job. I'm like, the visa. I have the visa. I'm good. I'll find a job. The thing is that so many people come here and they're American or Canadian or whatever, and they teach English to start out. And I knew I could always fall back on that, or teach Spanish, which I taught in the U.S. online if need be, or sell my body. That was always a third option, selling my body. I didn't want to resort to that, but if I had to, I would have. My dad was like, maybe no. But I persevered. I persevered, and I interviewed with some of. Which is so funny because now I'm in contact with some of those schools now. But I interviewed with some incredible, very elite, like private schools that were like, you got most of it, but you need to be in Spain.
Yes.
So the financial cushion and just getting up again and just feeling, I hadn't 18 years in the same district. I hadn't experienced writing a resume in 18 years.
18 years.
Or LinkedIn in 18 years. I hadn't like applied for a job. Like, how do you write the email for that? How do you interview in Spanish?
Question: if there's somebody sitting and watching this, and this person has been in his or her job for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, more than that maybe, and they are about to start applying again after many, many years of being away from that process. What would your advice be to that person?
Oof, that's a great question. You know you're going to start somewhat from the ground up, but you have your education. As long as you have your education and you're well-spoken and you practice interview skills and practice your Spanish a little. ChatGPT became my best friend.
Oh, I wish ChatGPT was invented when I moved to Spain.
Oh, God, right?
Wow.
It was really, it was helpful. Yeah. But I also found Mi CV Ideal, which was like a Spanish, I just Googled it. It was, I still kind of use it. It's a website that's all in Spanish for making CVs. So it has the verbiage that you need. Mi CV Ideal. I think like .es or .com or something like that. And even though you had to pay like a fee every month, which is just stupid, it gave you word banks for what you wanted. So if you do not speak Spanish, it was able to help you with that.
Yeah.
And I talked to people who were European in the field. I talked to people in New York who were, and I literally just put my feelers out to anything and anyone I could touch upon.
Question.
Yeah.
How many rejections did you get? If you should guess, I assume you didn't count them.
No. I didn't want to. And rejections not due to not being qualified. I just want to make that clear. Or maybe I wasn't qualified. Probably 10.
10.
Probably 10.
Yeah.
Maybe 15.
Right.
Because if you don't get a response, it's still a rejection, right?
Right.
Yeah, so maybe 15, maybe 20. I mean, the numbers could be like exorbitant at this point. But I knew that I had English, speaking English behind me. And that when there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
Another piece of advice, I don't like Facebook, but join Facebook groups and join them and get to know the people on them. Like I started following Tom Charlie, peace out, call out, I don't know what you call it, and asking my like expat type questions and asking for them for advice. Hey, do you have a lawyer that's American? Just in case. Yeah. Or hey, what did you do about this? Or what did you do? Join those Facebook groups a year or two beforehand. Start reading the comments. You're going to read the comments. It's going to help you tremendously. Then you're going to say, hey, when I get to Spain, could I take you out for a coffee? That's the best advice I can give. Somebody gives you advice from abroad that you don't know. You're living in Louisiana or wherever, Denmark, and they give you advice and they help you out. Say, hey, I'd love to take you out for a coffee when I get to Madrid to thank you for your help.
Right.
And then you have an in-person connection with somebody automatically when you come here.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then at the end, you're also like, hey, if you know what? I really appreciate your help. If you can connect me to anybody else that could help me, I would love it because I'd really like to stay here.
Right. I love that.
Did you do that? Did you join like Facebook groups? I hate Facebook, but it's so useful.
Did I join Facebook groups? I'm like the kind of person who is trying to research everything before I do them usually.
Yeah.
So I think I did join Facebook groups, and I might also have been looking at like this is also the reason why I'm making this. I looked at YouTube videos for like moving to Spain, moving to Barcelona. Like
I didn't look at YouTube. I looked at TikTok.
And I think I did what I could to prepare my mindset and understand what it takes.
I see.
And especially the paperwork was
daunting.
But and I think even at one thing is being European, and then another thing is being American. So I would be humble in this conversation and not cry you a river.
So, some people who are European and American are like, it's not. I mean, like you after 2 years, you can be here like without a visa. Is that correct or no?
I have no clue. I have a knee.
You have
that's
a knee.
Yeah.
You have a knee.
Yeah.
But I do too, which makes no sense.
And I think that's for life.
That whole process and the nus.
But I think what you said before, Daniel, is interesting about that, like, there's many occasions to connect with people, and I would like to hear more about how do you when you come here, how do you connect with people? How do you make friends? Do you have friends? Do you have one?
Yes, success, success. Two things: you work on your Spanish. Anytime you have that opportunity, that goes for you too. Just kidding. I was like, even if it means like you're standing in line waiting for coffee, which might take 20 minutes and you're going to have to wait patiently because it's Spain. Even if you say like, ay, me gusta, with the teeny bit of Spanish that you, me gusta tu reloj, ¿de dónde es? You know, something simple like that. And it starts a conversation. You can just say in your American English, un poquito español, no mucho. Daniela, ¿y tú? Something like that.
Sí.
Encantada.
Sí, encantada.
Actually, we should kiss. Any little opportunity you can do, you start with me gusta blank, and learn how to say like pants or zapatos.
Is that as a Danish person? It's not so natural for me to. I mean, now I've
just
done
start
for a long time,
conversation.
so like I get used to it.
True.
But what we talked about before with the "How are you" culture, for you as a New Yorker, is that very natural to just talk with strangers?
I think it's my family.
Okay.
My family is extremely extroverted.
Okay.
But not all my friends are extroverted. But the thing is, you got to push yourself to be that way here. Put your embarrassment, put your shyness to the side, and literally say 4 words.
Okay.
Perdona. Me encanta. Just those 2 words. And it's, first of all, it's going to make that person smile. And then it might just be, that's it.
Right.
If you can say those 2 words, perdona, me encanta, or perdona, ¿qué hora es? And put your watch away so no one thinks you're crazy. You know? I used to do that traveling in Spanish-speaking countries. I'd hide my phone and hide my watch, and I'd ask people the time. But if that's not the case, then start getting involved, whether it's Facebook or something else, in the hobbies that you love. If it's yoga, you see a sign for yoga, you bet your booty you get to that class. I don't care if it's you don't understand any Spanish and it's a Spanish yoga class. You make your way there. I joined a ukulele class. And I'm not saying this all happened like right when I got here. It's been gradual. And it's still hard as much as I'm an extroverted person. It's still hard for me and I still have to kick myself to do it and say, you know what, like, oh, you're really not in the mood for talking today. But could you say a little bit of extra Spanish to the barista behind the bar?
Right.
Oh, ¿de dónde eres? I love your accent. Maybe they're like, oh, I'm from Venezuela. Another expat. Oh, I'm not from there either. You know, even if you go into another language.
Do you experience that when you have those initial short conversations? Does that ever... sorry, I'm a marketing guy. Does that ever convert?
Lead to something?
Lead into a friendship?
I would say if you're willing to take the dive to keep the conversation going, the person seems... Like, if they don't seem like they want to chat, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm going to leave them be. But if they do, then at the end, you do need to say, like, hey, would love to grab coffee sometime. I would love to make more connections here in Spain. Or I'd love to take you out for a coffee. Thank you so much for that information. Then I think yes.
You also said when we talked yesterday, you said something that that I found essential, which is like nothing comes itself. You have to go there. You have to interact. You have to even if you're introverted. I'm an introverted person. Still social, but introverted. And like I have to engage.
Yes.
In order to meet people.
Yes.
Yeah. And
even in New York, I had to do that too.
I have to ask for like people for like meeting for a coffee.
Yes.
Or
yes.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen every week that you need to do that. And on the weeks where I find I haven't done that, I get a little depressed because I'm like, you don't have any friends here.
Right.
You don't, and we all get down ourselves. You left your own country. You don't even have friends here. No one's reaching out to you. But everyone wants everyone else to reach out to them.
Right.
Everyone's waiting for someone else to reach out.
Yeah, that's
or
right.
to organize the group. Everyone, all of us, extroverted, introverted, it doesn't matter.
So it's also something about like putting your, what did you say, not being too proud.
Yeah. Putting your pride to the side.
Yeah.
Like put it in a back seat.
Yeah.
In a car far away. Leave it back where you came from.
Yeah.
Because you need to do things when you're not back in your original country. You need to do things that are not your normal personality.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to change. You're not going to expand. And even on those weeks where you're feeling down, because it happens, right? You're feeling down. You haven't reached out to people. You haven't joined a hobby where you've found other people you like. You're going to have those weeks where you're down and you're like, why did I do this? I thought I wanted this. But we are all going through those mountainy like periods. It's rocky. It's rocky. I don't have my family here. I don't have my original, friends here. But another thing I would highly recommend is make sure that you connect weekly, not just with family, with your close friends back home. Because those inside jokes that people here can't understand are worth everything.
You know what? When people ask me what I miss the most about Denmark, I say the humor.
Yeah.
And one thing is, Danish humor is something special.
I'm sure.
Super dark. We're being super sarcastic. But obviously it's also the language.
Yeah.
And that's a major
Because
thing.
even though your English is perfect, there's a cultural aspect of humor that not everybody has. And
all
the thing is,
things that we have in common, and our beliefs and our perceptions. Yeah.
And so I think like weekly basis, and when I know when I haven't called a friend back home or connected with a friend back home, not just a voice memo on WhatsApp, which is also really important, even just that little voice memo on WhatsApp, hearing your friend's voice or you sending it or receiving one. And I do talk to my family every week, but there's something different about those inside jokes with siblings and friends that you're just like, send them an old picture and be like, remember that? And then like a week from that point, you're talking and that humor comes out again. And sometimes I revisit the same memory every time because it just makes us crack up so much. And I think the friend also appreciates that too. And that was one of the friends, my friend Magdalena, who left New York right after the pandemic, and she's Mexican-American. I was so jealous that she left. And I missed her too. But keeping those connections with people back home on a regular basis to get that humor connection.
That's good advice.
I would love to know some Danish humor. Would I even understand it?
Probably not. Probably not. Personally, the more I've been abroad, the more I've been out in the world, the better I understand where I'm from, or I understand where I'm from in a new perspective. Do you feel the same way?
I would rather first hear what you have realized about Danish culture with you being here.
What
because this question kind of like confuses me sometimes. So I would love to hear first because you have it in your head. I can just tell.
Yeah.
What have you, because you've gone back already. I haven't gone back to visit yet. So I'd love to hear like what you've realized after having visited or been here longer than me, what you realized about your own culture.
Got a strong reminder is that it's a small country, and but it's a small, very well working country, and we are like there is so many positive things to say about Denmark. I could sit here and brag about it, but there is just this one thing which is major, which is weather and sunshine, which means so much to me.
Here, the weather and sunshine here is great.
Yeah, I prefer this.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing is, we touched upon it before, like in the way you socialize, how you are more likely to have. I get easier a connection here, and I love connecting with people, and I like the small smiles, interactions. I really appreciate the how are you conversations, and I think they are more. They are missing a bit sometimes in Denmark.
Can I tell you something that I really love about this culture that I forgot to mention? Is when you have like the 3 or 4 generations walking on the teeny sidewalk together, and they're all linking arms. And do you know what I'm talking about? You've literally got like the kid, the mom, the grandmom, the granddad, and everything. They're all like linking arms, walking in a line together down the street. Okay, you're going to pay attention now to this.
Yes.
This is something that's so Spanish. When on a Saturday or Sunday, like 3 generations get together, and they make sure they all live near one another. Maybe this is just because I'm American. We like send our elderly to old homes. And you see like 2 or 3 generations, even like a dad and a son like holding hands. Like even when it's like, seems like it's not the appropriate age, like you're 13 years old, why are you holding hands with your dad? But the togetherness of family, they're walking down the street all like linking arms or holding hands where the hand is on the shoulder, and they're covering the entire sidewalk. And you cannot pass them unless you say perdona, and you like feel like you're rude, you're breaking up the family. But start paying attention to that. It's something so beautiful that at first annoyed me because I'm a New Yorker and I want to speed down the street. But they fill up the entire block, or even like a gaggle of friends. And they're all filling the sidewalk, and you're trying to pass them, but there's just like no appropriate way. So you end up going on the street as to not interrupt their flow.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm sure a lot of people like have noticed that, but I want you to recognize that. There's a special moments.
I thought it was interesting what you said about efficiency, because it was so relatable for me that. That's also like one thing I realized after moving here. That we're doing things really efficient, really smart where I'm from, and that's nice. That's great.
Yeah.
But there's also like sometimes you question why do you have to do everything so fast?
Right. Right.
Can you give me an example of something that you have experienced that was like where you question the efficiency?
Oh my God, which one? Which one? I feel like I had to stop myself. I blurt things out a lot that I shouldn't. And I don't mean to. But a lot of the times I'll be like, in the U.S., we don't have it like this. We would have a line. It wouldn't be like this. And I've stopped saying that, especially to Spaniards, because it's not nice. And it's a different culture. And I'm in their culture. They're not on mine. So when you have to go to I think it's called the comisaria or the extranjeria, where you have to get your NIE, NIE, whatever it's called. And when you arrive there and you have an appointment, you have it printed out on a sheet, and there's just like this huddled, it looks like a mosh pit, like at a concert of like people trying to enter this place. And there are policemen standing there. And they seem like they're pretending to do something, but they're not doing anything. And all you want to know is, what line do I stand in, or what group do I go in? And what would be incredible is if you had 3 signs. Even in Spanish, foreigners here, Europeans, like Americans here, foreigners here, don't have an appointment here, have an appointment here. And that would be it.
Yeah.
And instead, everyone is in the same line. Some are in a tent, and you're like, what is going on in that tent? I have no idea what's going on there. And you ask the cops, policemen or women, and you're like, asking them, you're like, what do I do? I have this. And they literally individually stand there and tell you the answer of what to do. Oh, you should be in this line. You should be in that line. But if there was a sign, they wouldn't have to do that every time. And you go into this line where Everyone who has an appointment doesn't have an appointment. Everyone goes into this one line. And I just wanted to shake the policeman and be like, there's a better way.
Yeah.
Like, there's a better way, man. I could help you. I'll write the signs myself.
Yes.
You know, and that happens for the bus, Bono, as well. You know, they say that there are 2 lines, but the signs are like this big. And you're like, do you have an appointment? No, do you? Everybody's wondering, what line do you go in? Da, da, da. And there's this little itty bitty sign. That's like, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I've been frustrated. And I wish that I could just make it simpler. I could make this simpler and faster for everybody. But there must be a reason. I'll eventually find out why. There must be a reason. I don't know if it's just not thought about or it's like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Who cares if it takes an extra 5 minutes for someone to explain something?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I'm trying.
I'm frustrated.
It gets very frustrating.
I'm very frustrated sometimes, but I'm like, it's a package. There's so many amazing things here, and then there's some times where you just, I can't even think of an example right now, but I daily.
Yeah,
daily feel a frustration that I'm dealing with, like a small one. It could be like the line in a coffee shop.
I was just going to say that one. So can I ask you about the coffee shop one? So when you order coffee, they give you the actual time of day to answer your questions, get whatever you need, da da da. And if they see a huge line, there's no rush. It's like, right? You do know what I'm talking about? Like, but they spend the time with that person. It's made with love. It's made with patience. It's not, in the beginning, I was like tapping my feet, being like, do you see me? Like, I'm in a rush here. I'm a New Yorker. And now I realize, like, they genuinely, you need to make sure here in Spain, you leave ample time for everything because you're going to need that patience. You're going to have to pull out that patience
you have to be very
a lot.
patient in this country.
So if you're in a rush, do not get coffee to go or do not, like, make your own coffee.
Yes.
But that's how you kind of find a way.
Today. Make your own coffee.
Yeah.
If you want to live an efficient life in Spain.
But almost.
Dani, I know that you are working on yourself. I know that self-development is an important topic for you. For the last 8 months, you have lived in Spain. You lived in Madrid. Is there something top of your mind where you can say, like, that's due to my experience here, that I had this personal growth experience?
It's so funny that you say that, because my life coach is like, I have seen you grow in so many areas. Where should we start?
Yeah.
And I sit there and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It's like I don't see the growth. He's known me for a little over a year now. See me prepping for Spain, everything.
Yeah.
So for someone like that to say, like, oh my God, like, you know, he's like, even the way you word questions to me now has changed. It's almost like I've taken on some of his questioning skills. That's definitely something. The way I question people isn't as, like, simple as, well, what do you think? It has more depth to it. And even just being around people like you and our friend Laura and other people who are deeper thinkers like that, we want to get past the basics of the regular conversation and get to the nitty gritty and be like, so what does that mean to you? And I feel like my questioning techniques in interviewing people who are, you know, trying to get a job where I'm working, or even just with friendships, my questioning skills are much deeper and are more thoughtful. And that's something I just would not expect, but that's the only thing I can really think of that I feel like I've definitely come a long way with the way in which I question other people's lives, habits, and the way I question, I guess, myself as a result. But I think that's one thing that I can say, like, that's really improved, and it helps your human connection.
Amazing. That's a good ability.
Yeah.
I like to ask good questions. And the better
You're the expert at it.
Thank you.
The expert.
The better questions you ask, the better answers you get, right?
Absolutely.
And talking about good questions,
Uh-oh.
what advice would you offer to those people maybe sitting in New York right now, watching this, maybe even with a dream of moving to Spain, maybe even Madrid, what would you tell them?
Picture yourself on your deathbed. This was one of the things that I did, one of the many things. I pictured myself on my deathbed. I also watched a documentary about, not geriatric, palliative care. And they were like, experience more and take the risks. Because I'm telling you, when you're on your deathbed, that's what you're going to regret, the things you didn't do. And I literally picture myself, I don't know why I picked 80, but I was 80 on my deathbed. And I said, this is the one regret I would have, not having moved to Spain. That is the last thing I want to do, is look back at my life and regret something as big as that and as scary as that, and not having done it because I was scared.
And what would have been the thing that would have kept you away from doing it? What is the thing that, if you could talk to yourself back then in this process before 8 months ago when you moved here, what is the thing that you would tell yourself, you would advise yourself to do, or a mindset you would have? Because it sounded like it wasn't without challenges.
No. It definitely wasn't. Talk to the supporters, not the haters.
Talk to the supporters, not the haters. That's great advice.
And also, I know this sounds horrible, but I'm not a Trump fan. But I'm like, if Trump can become president, anything is possible.
That's the mindset.
Honestly, that was one of the many things that I had down. Anything is possible if somebody like that can lead. Even though this isn't a political talk. But, and also just the quote, like, if you can dream it, you can do it. You would not dream it. You would not think about it if you didn't think it was possible.
That's the most American thing you've said today. If you can dream it, you can do it.
Sorry.
I love it.
When there's a will, there's a way. Which, how many quotes do you want?
Yeah. We can keep going for all the posters.
Yeah, but really, those were the ones that stood out. Post-its.
There is also a part of, like, I think it's also a question of expectations when you go into it, right? And I guess the person sitting and wanting to do this should have the right expectations in order not to be overwhelmed or maybe even like scared away of doing it, right? So there is this thing about like accepting the rejections, basically.
Oh yeah, accepting the rejection, accepting the bumps in the road, expecting the language barrier issues.
Oh, so exhausting.
Right? Because even I had that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm speaking Spanish. Why can't I understand them? And why can't they understand me? So that happens too. Don't get me wrong. Like, even if you speak the language, I'm telling you, there were issues.
Right.
There are going to be so many roadblocks, but it's on purpose. It's to test you. Can you jump over them? Can you get through them? Can you walk around them? And can you reach out to the people that can help you? Like, you are now a resource for people, a public resource for people through these podcasts that people can reach out to when they have those low moments of, hey, I'm really having a rough time. It's like we should have a hotline.
Right.
Right? Like a SIL hotline.
Yes.
Like, please call us. We'll answer your questions.
Yeah.
Because I still have questions.
Right.
It's only been 8 months. I still have questions. And I think that you need to reach out to the people who have already done it too. See if you can find a connection with them through social media and such. But one last thing I want to say is high five yourself in the morning every day.
Yeah.
If you can. That came from another podcast, telling yourself, you can do this, you can do this.
What's the pleasure, or what's the what benefit do you experience from giving yourself a high five?
if you look in the mirror, and this is from Mel Robbins, another podcaster. When you get a high five, how do you feel when you get a high five? You're smiling. How do you feel?
It's nice.
Feel good. Let's do this. You feel motivated.
Yeah.
Or when you put your arms in the air, they say that also, like you won something, right? Something like that.
That's so interesting.
That's another one.
That's so interesting.
Before a test, I tell my students, put your arms in the air like this beforehand in the bathroom.
That's serious.
It's going to look a little weird if you do in the middle of the test, but sometimes. But if you high five yourself in the mirror, it's It's as if a friend is telling you, hey, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you automatically smile because you feel ridiculous.
Okay. Do you believe it even though you feel ridiculous?
Oh, yeah. When I remember to do it. But I also had to have a note. I had Post-its everywhere, too. With like little quotes and little things like jump over the bump. Like there's going to be roadblocks. I had little Post-its around my apartment, in my notebook, on my phone. I needed Post-its as ADHDer, neurodivergent person. We need lots of visual reminders because we're not going to just like remember to call our mom. Like I need to put in like literally call mom. So Post-its with quotes that motivated me. Or like when you're 80 blank, or high five yourself in the mirror. Another suggestion I heard is smile right when you wake up, even if you don't feel like it. Of course you don't. Wow, I have a freaking alarm clock.
Yeah. I think for like a practical advice, also inspired by our conversation yesterday, is also like both the part of visualizing it, and then also make sure that you have a why about like why you do it, and then put that into like concrete daily actions.
Yes,
right.
Yes, that is totally it. Thank you for that summary. That was great. Yes, like where are you going to put it into your daily routine to keep yourself present with your goals and why you want to do what you're doing?
Yeah, and that's like related to, for me, when I envision myself in the future, I feel like sometimes people get a bit like uncomfortable on my behalf because it's uncomfortable to like think about the future. But I actually like that idea of visualizing how great the future could be, and then in the moment do the action in the present in order to get like one step closer every day.
So can you give me an example? I think I understand, but I want an example if you can think of one.
Oh yeah, going to the gym.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Reading Spanish, studying Spanish, which I don't do currently.
Right, but it's okay. Right.
Eating greens.
Yeah.
Like.
So it's leading to your goals, even though your goal now is not move to Spain. Your new goals.
Yes.
Of like remaining here, but also like being the best version of yourself. You're saying, right?
Yeah, and I spend an hour minimum on this a day. So that's also on the days where I don't feel like it, but that's with the vision I have in my mind about this project. From that, where do you see yourself in 2 years from now?
Oh, that question.
And actually, before you answer that question,
yes.
When I asked you yesterday,
can I take off my sunglasses because now I can't see you anymore?
Please do. When I asked you yesterday, I sensed that. Correct me if I'm wrong. That it made you feel slightly uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Like where?
Why that?
Like 2 years from now? That question?
Yeah, the question. Yeah.
You're right. Why does that question make me feel uncomfortable? I think it's fear of not accomplishing them. Yeah. And I think it's also like, I need to listen to what I just said to you. Like, if you can dream it, you can do it. I think I fear what I dream of doing in 2 years. I'll explain in a minute. Because even living here and having a job that I had never had before, just doing so many different things actually opened my eyes up. And I get even more excited about the possibilities of the future, but it also comes with trepidation. I'm also like, but what if I don't get there? But what if but what if? But what if? The what ifs. God, if I could get that out of my head and out of my vocabulary. I try to catch myself when I do the but what if, and I try to cut off that intrusive thought and catch myself as much as I can and say, whoa. Wait, no. That's not our thinking anymore. And that's something I'm working on in therapy, like catching those intrusive thoughts and not letting it spiral. Because you can easily spiral, especially when you just change jobs, you change countries. Where am I going to be in 2 years? Oh my God, I hope I have a visa still. I hope So I think that I fear not accomplishing those things. Like I fear like, what if I don't like education anymore in 2 years, but I'm still in education?
Right.
What if I don't get as good at the craft of teaching English as I think I'm going to get as good at? What if I end up hating English? What if
Could I challenge you here?
Absolutely.
And again, just before we
Please.
go into answer the question,
Yeah.
if we turn that around and we have a conversation about what is then the benefit
Yeah.
of it, because I get that part, but if you should tell what is the benefit, or what is the thing, do you think there is a positive part of of having that like ability to dream and think in the future?
Absolutely. Even if it comes with those fears, absolutely. I think more good
And why
comes.
and why do you think that? What is important about it?
I haven't thought about that yet.
Okay.
Why? I haven't thought about that yet. Why is it important to think 2 years from now? I'm going to have to get back to you on that one.
That's okay.
That's a really heavy one.
If I
for
should
me.
give my 5 cents on it,
Yeah, please.
That's back to what we talked about before. That if I have had that conversation with myself about where I would like my life to be, what I would like my life to look like in 2 years from now, which is I think a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
Then I also in the present moment watch my actions from that perspective, and that fills me kind of with a sense of meaningfulness, because then I know that this action that I'm doing right now is getting me closer, and like I don't want to eat broccoli all day just to like be slightly more healthy.
Right, but you're like, oh, but I would like
it
to.
It also has to be funny, of course.
Yeah.
Of
Funny
course.
or fun?
Fun.
Both.
Fun.
Yeah,
Both.
you're right. It has to be fun.
Let's laugh more.
That's so good that you say that. My goal for so many years on and off, and then for an entire year and a half straight, was move to Spain. My goal is move to Spain. Everything I was doing, move to Spain. And then I got here, and then I was like, what's my goal now? And I felt a little lost. I was like, okay, so like I'm looking for a job in English and like Spanish has always been my passion. So I felt a little lost. What are my new goals? And even now I'm working on that. Like, what are my new goals? But now that I've been here 8 months, I now have more of an idea of what my 2-year goals are. Because 1 year is like, I could still kind of be in the same spot, but I like how you called this 2 years from now.
Yes. Thanks, Laura.
Yeah, thank you. Love you, Laura. Because it gives you enough time to show that you've grown, and like I just feel like so much can change in 2 years. So should I tell you what my 2-year goal is?
Please do.
2-year goal. Okay. This was sort of 5 years, but I'm making it 2 years. What I'm about to say, I would like to own an Airbnb in Asturias, which is where I will retire. Mark my words.
Where's that?
Asturias is one of the most beautiful provinces in Spain. It's in northern Spain. It has every type of landscape you can imagine. It doesn't have Madrid weather, but it is cooler in the summer than it is here. Cooler. I try to go there every summer. Yeah. Oh, we will have to go. There's a lot of hiking, a lot of animals. It's where I became vegetarian. And I would like to own an Airbnb and then eventually rent it out. I feel like Americans, we always have like a side hustle. And I feel like that would just be beneficial for me to have in the future, and also somewhere to stay because I love Asturias so much. In terms of jobs, I want to be doing something with being some sort of a not motivational speaker, but somebody who has to go around and speak to different schools or students or adults or teachers and pass a message on. And I don't know if that's passing what we've learned about American education, how it can benefit Spanish education here, or if I'll be representing a school, an international school here, and traveling around, trying to like recruit people to it. But I do envision myself literally physically like leaving Madrid, coming back, leaving and coming back, and talking to many hundreds, if not thousands, of people about something I'm passionate about.
Amazing.
Who knows what that will be?
How does it feel to share that to say that out
Awesome.
loud. Yeah.
I've probably said it to like 2 people ever. Yeah.
Nice.
So putting it out there,
It's our
manifesting
little
it.
secret here.
Oh, sure. Secret.
Danny, time has run really fast. It was
It's been fantastic.
It was really, really nice. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming here and sharing your story. There is probably a lot of people that have a dream of doing this, of
No, there is.
moving out and trying a new place in the world. And thank you so much for coming
Thank
and sharing
you.
your story.
Thank you for having the drive to create something like this for people, because you know that they're out there and they need to hear this. And hopefully we can, help them together, and they, just start your hotline. It's just time to start the hotline.
Stay
To
tuned.
be continued.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste.